Hello, kia ora. I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Thursday weather update for October the 6th. And a programming note, we don't have a video tomorrow, Friday, I'm sorry, but we are back on Monday. So this is your weekend forecast and the outlook for next week. Let's get into it. We're covering New Zealand, Australia, and the South Pacific because there's quite a lot going on over the next few days. Although in New Zealand, things are about to calm down again after the very busy week we've been having. So here is the culprit. That brought in the big Antarctic southerly, this high pressure system. It is now moving in towards New Zealand, and like the front of a bulldozer, this is pushing in like that and blowing away or pushing away the wintry southerlies. They're still around for the Chathams for another day or so, but they'll gradually ease there as well by the time we get to the end of Friday. So a bit windy and cold still around the New Zealand area. Over in Australia, northerlies coming through here, southerlies on the other side, rain in the middle, and that rain is stuck for a few more days, blocked by this high. So we'll talk about that because we're hearing on YouTube in particular, a lot of comments from people in Victoria, the Murray River getting very, very high at record levels and the ground saturated. And now you've got 2-3 days of rain still to move through. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're getting the same weather in New Zealand. So that's why it's worth focusing on everything going on that you see on this map, because basically any low can affect almost anyone, other than maybe a low up here is probably not going to affect Perth, but a low in Perth can come right over to us. So let's get into it before I go too long-winded in this and talk about what's happening here on Friday. So Friday, that cold southerly is still around along the eastern side of New Zealand, bringing in showers mostly for the North Island, Waited Upper, Hawke's Bay, those areas, maybe a couple of showers just near Wellington or clipping Wellington. The Chatham's still in that wintry southerly, so things don't really ease there until nighttime. In Australia, the next band of rain crossing over Victoria, ACT, and heading into New South Wales and as far north as the border of Queensland. It shouldn't be too aggressive for most places, but on top of the rain you've just had, it's possibly not welcome. Now, as we go through into Saturday, that rain kind of stalls there a wee bit, blocked by this enormous high. So it's going to move through Sydney, but not really go a lot further. There is a big high coming in behind it though, so things are going to improve. Pretty calm in New Zealand. We've got a couple of nights of frost coming through, but on Saturday, the easterlies pick up in the north and the northerlies pick up in the South Island. So when we get to Sunday, it's windier around the country. And in fact, a lot breezier in the South Island. Through the mountains could be quite windy, might even be gales around the mountains of the Southern Alps. And that will help boost up the temperatures. So places that have only been around 3, 4, 5 degrees the last couple of days will be up around 16s, 17s and 18s by the time we get to Sunday. So the lambs are going to love that. They'll be out frolicking and the daffodils and all that jazz. Now in Australia, another thing that's going on Sunday, Bathurst. I have no idea why I love Bathurst. I am not a very sporty person, but I really enjoy watching it, or at least having it on the TV. And so rain and cold with a high of 13 there. I don't think there'll be any dramatic afternoon thunderstorms, unfortunately. That always makes for a bit of fun. If you don't care about what I'm talking about, there's the storm that's leaving away from Australia. The last couple of days, the models have been picking that to be forming inland. Now it's showing it forming more around the coast, and it's likely to drop off into the Southern Ocean, but it could bring a burst of gale force southerlies and rain on Sunday. So Sunday morning, let's just say you can have a sleep in if you live in Sydney anyway. Let's go to next week, Monday. The high is drifting further away from New Zealand. Now those mild winds are coming into the Chatham Islands, windy nor'westers for the South Island, and winds from the northeast and the northwest for the North Island. Now up in the tropics, we've got a low forming. It's not a storm, but with La Nina underway, this is the first proper low we've seen since the third La Nina was announced. So we'll keep an eye on this. Doesn't look like it's going to be a major system, but it will drive in some rain for Tonga, and then it will move over towards the Cook Islands, as you can see here on Tuesday. It sort of drifts away from Tonga and more towards Rarotonga and the Cooks. So there'll be a bit of rain and wind, but it's not likely to be a major storm. But we are only 3 and a bit weeks out from the official start of the South Pacific cyclone season. So we'll be expecting more of these lows to form up here over the coming weeks and months as well. Good news over in Australia, by the way, next week. Look how much drier it is. And as we go here to our final map on Wednesday, we're right in the middle of spring now. This is when it should be very stormy and windy and westerlies blowing through everywhere. But I think because we've got La Nina happening up here and we've got high pressure zones in the New Zealand area, the winds have been pushed down into the Southern Ocean. And so it's surprisingly settled across Most of the nations you see on the map here, even the skies are drying out around Fiji, where they've had a lot of rain lately. And in the New Zealand area, this front trying to move northwards, being squashed by these two highs that are sort of shaking hands, and it's kind of cut off the energy. So that system, which was stormy when it left Australia, is basically nothing as it moves into New Zealand, Taranaki, Manawatu, Wanganui, those areas getting a few showers maybe next week. And I wouldn't totally lock that in either. Looks pretty fickle and weak. It may not stay that way. That is all from me. Before I go, I would like to say a big thank you to Met Service. I think Met Service has done an excellent job this week covering the storm, putting out their official warnings. As you know, I've got a bit of an issue with NIWA going up against them and against us, using our tax money to do it. And I know a lot of you don't like me talking about politics in here, but to be honest with you, it's part of the weather world. But a big shout out to Met Service. I don't want to always be seen as someone who's being critical. I think it's important to be positive as well. We've got a very good relationship with Met Service these days, and we continue to support them and their warnings. They did a great job this week. That is all from me. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.